It's kind of like an old aged bottle of whiskey. It just gets better over time. I see that because while most auto manufacturers have moved on to the more lighter, sportier, and more modern crossover SUVs, the Jeep Grand Cherokee has retained its original SUV form factor, reminiscent of the Jurassic Park movie back in the early 90s. But that's not to say that the Grand Cherokee is dated by any stretch. After all, Jeep is amongst the leaders in the off-roading industry. And rest be assured, the Jeep Grand Cherokee is fitted with a Qaud-Track 4x4 system destined to tackle even the roughest off-roading terrains you can imagine. Now, the particular model that we have here is the Jeep Grand Cherokee Overland L model. As you might have guessed, L stands for long, meaning the Jeep Grand Cherokee has been extended by 15.1 inches and 7 inches on the wheelbase. All of that is to fit a third row seating, making a total passenger capacity of 7. Now, in terms of alternatives for 7-seater passenger crossover SUVs, there are plenty. Take, for example, the Honda Passport, Hyundai Telluride, Kia Sorento, or Nissan Pathfinders. All are great choices, but none can really match the purpose-built off-roading capabilities of the Jeep Grand Cherokee. Only a select few, such as maybe the Toyota 4Runner or the Land Rover Defender, come to mind.
Let's also not forget, the Grand Cherokee is very luxurious and techy as well. It's got everything you would expect, and much more, such as keyless entry, push-engine start-stop, a panoramic sunroof, power liftgate, heated and ventilated front leather trimmed seats that are 12-way adjustable. The list goes on, so I might as well continue. Massaging front seats, interior lighting, and one of my favorite key features, the exclusive Macintosh MX950 19-speaker audio entertainment system. And for those of you that don't know, Macintosh is an American manufacturer of handcrafted high-end audio equipment, most notably renowned for their vacuum tube amplifiers. So it's definitely a treat to listen to high-end quality music right inside your car.
Now, the Jeep Grand Cherokee comes standard with a 3.6-liter Pentastar V6 engine that gets 290 horsepower and 357 pound-feet of torque. Towing capacity is rated at 6,200 pounds. Now, to put that into perspective, the Toyota 4Runner gets just 5,000 pounds of towing capacity, while the more purpose-built Toyota Tacoma pickup truck gets 6,500 pounds. What I'm trying to say is the fact that the Jeep Grand Cherokee has a towing capacity similar to that of a pickup truck with similar engine specs is pretty incredible. Now, more demanding buyers can opt for a larger 5.7-liter V8 engine that bumps the horsepower up to 357 pounds with an extra 1,000 pounds of towing capacity, making it a total of 7,200 pounds. That will cost an extra $3,000. Overland and Summit trims, which is of the higher trim levels, get the Quadra Lift air suspension system that adds up to 4.2 inches of ride height. That's very significant considering the fact that just 1 inch of extra suspension travel changes the vehicle dynamics quite a bit. Now, the added ride height is particularly very useful when you need a little bit more ground clearance while off-roading and less while you're driving in city and highway roads. The system is also intelligent enough to automatically lower the vehicle when the vehicle speed picks up. It also adjusts the damping systems on the fly to optimize stability, comfort, and control. Now, the Overland trim that we have here comes with a Qaud-Track 4x4 system. It's got an electronic clutch pack that delivers up to 100% of the engine torque to either the front or the rear drive shaft for optimal traction. It doesn't have a limited slip differential, so instead it uses an emulation method called brake lock differential. The way that works is in an open differential configuration, say for example the left and the rear wheels. If the right wheel is slipping, all of the engine torque is directed to the wheel of a higher speed, which is not desirable. So what the system does is it applies braking force to this ABS system to slow the outside wheel down such that the engine torque can be transferred to the wheel of slower speed with more traction. The Qaud-Track II system also features a 2-speed transfer case with a low ratio of 2.72 to 1. It can also lock both the front and rear drive shaft for optimal traction, and it also has a 4-wheel drive low gear ratio of 44 to 1. Now, everything within the interior feels very premium and built with very high quality materials. One of my favorite features is this Macintosh 19-speaker audio surround system. For those of you that don't know, Macintosh is an American manufacturer of high-end audio equipment, most notable for their vacuum tube amplifiers. One of the really cool features is, say for example, this backlight of the Macintosh label. It doesn't just turn on, but rather slowly glows to mimic the actual glow of a vacuum tube, which is pretty cool. On the steering wheel, you've got paddle shifters as well as buttons in the back to change between different media settings. I'm not a particular fan of this because I can do all that in the center console, but it's there if you really need to use it. Up front is also a heads-up display which directly projects the vehicle speed and navigation as well as speed limits directly on the windshield, which is very convenient and very, very cool. The instrument cluster features a 7-inch all-digital LCD display which is super crisp. I really like the way that Jeep has really incorporated the overall design into the instrument cluster. It feels super luxurious, very, very crisp, very informative, and at the same time is not overly informative, which I really like. In the center console, you've got a rotary style gear shifter as well as toggle switches to switch the different ride heights. You've got a 4-wheel drive load to lock the drive shaft on the transfer case, as well as different drive modes that you can select through the select terrain system between sport, auto, snow, sand, or rock. Up here, you've got a wireless charging system as well as 2 USB audio jacks, as well as a 12-volt charger here, and a dedicated center console for climate controls. Now, one of my really favorite features, now you have to trust me when I say this because I've used a lot of infotainment systems, and I can tell you that the FCA infotainment system, the Uconnect system, is amongst one of the best with super snappy responsiveness and really well laid out menu configurations that really makes the experience really, really good. There's also different graphics when you switch between different select terrain modes, which is pretty cool feature, which I really like. Now, one of the really cool features is you can see vehicle live data. For example, you can see the vehicle pitch and roll as well as the steering angle. There's also a front-facing camera where you can see directly over the wheels to see exactly what obstacles you're trying to ride over. There's also a way to clean the camera in case there's any mud or debris that's covering the lens. Now, what I really wish the Uconnect system had was the ability to record live data and then export it for offline data analysis or just ways to share with your friends. It doesn't support this feature yet, but hopefully it's just a matter of time. On the infotainment system, I can also control the climate controls, which is a little bit redundant, but I can also turn on and off massaging, which is pretty cool. And that's about it. In the center console, there's a little bit more storage space as well as 2 cup holders, as well as a lid to open or close the cup holders for just a little bit of added convenience.
Now the big question is, how does she drive? Well, let's just say the heavy weight is immediately felt. But it was kind of a good thing because the heavy momentum kind of filtered out any form of road imperfections and was surprisingly very power capable. The Pentastar V6 engine is amongst one of my favorites because of the power. Acceleration felt very smooth and predictable, while shifts between gears were seamless thanks to this awesome ZF TorqueFlite 8-speed transmission. The quadrilift air suspensions are not bad and felt smooth for the most part. But air suspensions in general tend to feel a bit more bouncy and less plush compared to traditional spring damper suspensions. So that's something that you'll have to compromise, whether variable ride height is preferred or more plush in your suspensions. You can't have both. Now, what you're definitely not going to like is the fuel economy. My average rating was 16 liter per 100 kilometers or 14.7 miles per gallon for you guys down in the States. That's going to make going to the gas station feel like an Asian kid going to piano lessons. I did get a chance to do a little bit of off-roading with the Grand Cherokee and it felt great and confident under loose dirt and gravel with plenty of ground clearance thanks to the adjustable ride height. But because of the Overland L is so long, that makes the car not very ideal for actual off-roading. But there are plenty of features in the Qaud-Track II 4x4 system to adapt to different terrains. In the back of my mind, I felt very hesitant knowing that the Grand Cherokee is such a luxurious car and is definitely not something I would want to scratch or bang up. It's been an amazing experience test driving the Jeep Grand Cherokee, and I hope you had a good ride along. That being said, please leave me a comment on questions down below, and I really appreciate any support I can get if you like and subscribe. Thanks again, and keep driving.